What's going on, my friends? It's me again, and I've got my new toy with me, my Radio Bikes 29er Legion. This thing is a 29-inch BMX. So if you don't know anything about BMX, your standard BMX that you see people doing tricks on are a 20-inch BMX, and that's referring to the tire, like the wheel size. So they're 20-inch, so relatively small. They did come out with 24-inch cruiser BMXs a while ago. Then they started producing 26-inch. So think of like your standard older style mountain bikes that were 26-inch, right? When mountain bikes first came out. Then they started producing BMX bikes in a 26-inch. And now they're producing these monster cruiser BMX in a 29-inch. So this is a big boy BMX. Are you going out and ripping up some tail whips and bar spins at your local skate park? Probably not. I have seen some people do it, but I would say it just seems impractical. Like, this is supposed to be a cruiser, and typically what people are using these bikes for are wheelies and just cruising, just enjoying a ride out with their buddies, doing lots of wheelies, maybe some manuals, and just having a good old-fashioned cruise. And for sure, I would say that the 29er culture is probably more prevalent in, the wind's coming in. Almost took my bike for a ride there. Yeah, the 29er BMX culture is probably a little geared towards more of the older dudes, and that's exactly why I picked this bike up. I have had BMX in my life for as long as I can remember. In fact, I had a BMX bike before I ever even had a skateboard, so you could say this is more or less my first sport. And my very first like real BMX was a J Muron Hydromatic Comp that I got back in the 90s, and I loved that bike, but it was 2,000 pounds, and I learned to ride mini ramp on it, and I learned to do some dirt jumping, and I loved that bike. And I've had a couple other bikes since then, and then there was a period in my life where I just didn't have a BMX. When I turned 40, so I'm 48 now, when I turned 40, I celebrated by getting myself a BMX again, and I got myself a Jake Seeley Sunday Broadcaster, and I loved that bike, and I rode it for a few years. But over the last couple of years, I've developed some pretty serious knee issues with tendonitis, and I just can't ride a 20-inch BMX anymore. It's just too small, it compresses on my knees too much, and I just couldn't do it. So I sold that, and I bought myself a 26-inch Sabrosa Cruiser. And that thing was awesome. Full chromoly, everything, like the frame, forks, bars, everything. And it was really good, but it was about 4 trillion pounds. And the problem I had was if I was like jumping a gap or dropping down some stairs, like at my age now, I was just destroying my wrists and my shoulders, and I'd come back and it wasn't a lot of fun. I had a lot of wrist pain. So I sold that, and then I bought myself an NS Metropolis 1 dirt jumper, and I love this bike. Probably my favorite bike I've ever owned. It had front suspension. It was like the geometry of a BMX, only with front suspension. And I rode that. And if you look back on my YouTube channel, you can see I did a ride, I think it was 2020, and it was called The Last Ride of 2020. And my knees at that point were really bothering me for skateboarding, so I actually took off on a road trip where I was just checking out pump tracks and cruising, and I took that bike. And that was great, but the problem is the frame is really small. And over the last 2 years, my knees got so bad that I just literally couldn't use the bike. I can't sit down and pedal. I can't even sit down and cruise with my knees that compressed. So I still have that bike, and I'm trying to sell it right now, but I've upgraded to this 29-inch Legion. And as you can see, even now I'm running my seat fairly high because I want to ride this comfortably. The whole point of getting this bike was to cruise on it. And yeah, I'm going to try and master the wheelie on this bike. So for sure, I've got some plans to still do some play around on my bike. But this is going to be my cruiser bike, and today is the first day I'm going to take it out for a ride. Oh man, I am so excited. Let's take a quick look at the bike. Let me give you some glamour shots. Yeah, this thing is gorgeous. Now, a few things that I'm going to change in the immediate future. I would like to actually get some taller bars, just a little bit taller. So these are nice cruiser bars, but I think they're only maybe a 6-inch, and I might go to like a 7 or maybe even an 8-inch bar. I would like them to come up a little higher because my seat height is pretty high. I'm now tipped forward a bit, so I'd like something a little higher in the front. The brakes are fine for now. So the reason I bought this was I wanted a 29er, but I wanted disc brakes, and there weren't a ton of options. And I really love that there's not many of these produced, actually. This is not a big bike company. I believe it's We the People that are producing these. So if I'm wrong on that, then somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that We the People is actually behind Radio Bike Co. So a respected brand that I really liked. Everything about this bike is great. So it's actually an alloy frame, which is great. So it looks like a classic BMX frame, but it's alloy, so it's way lighter than that Sabrosa I bought. Now the forks are chromoly and the bars, but at least the frame is lighter. The geometry, as they say on the website, specific wheelie geometry. So it is set up to wheelie, but right now it comes with these Tektro mechanical disc brakes. So no big deal, they're fine to start with, but I think one of the things I'll change in the near future is I'm gonna go to hydraulic brakes. I really like the feel of hydraulic brakes and just how dialed in you can get them and just the absolute stopping power. So I'll probably go to hydraulic brakes. I would like to swap out the grips and the pedals just for something that's more color coded. Not that there's a problem with them, but I would like to put some more accent colors on, like maybe in this blue. So I'll probably swap that stuff out. So the bars, the grips, the pedals will go. Other than that, and the brakes, other than that, I think I'm pretty content with everything on this bike and the way it is. I really like that this bike came with a quick release on the seat, so I can drop the seat if I want to play around a bit more. And if I'm just cruising like I am today, then I can have the seat up nice and high. Absolutely wonderful. Thanks to the guys at Harvester Bikes for building the bike up for me. I will say this, and this is not to critique my experience at Harvester Bikes in Toronto was wonderful. The guys there are knowledgeable. The shop has tons and tons of BMX stuff. That's really all they do at Harvester is BMX. But a couple things I will say. When I got it, the bars were really kind of sloped back, and maybe that was just they didn't know how I'd want them set up, but I've never seen a BMX rider in my entire life slope their bars back. Like you can see now, so I had to bring my bars forward and they are sitting sort of like vertical to the ground, and that's the way I like my bars to sit. So I thought that was kind of weird that a BMX shop would pass the bike on to me with the bars tipped back. So it was kind of weird on my test ride. The bike was really dusty, and I thought, they said they had to build it up for me, so I was kind of wondering, A, why it's dusty, and B, like, if you built it up for me, why not just take a rag and clean it off? So I had to actually wipe the whole bike down. It was really dusty, and I thought that was sort of weird. Like I used to work in a bike shop, and I was a bike builder, so, I mean, the attention to detail, I always made sure that, like, the whole bike was wiped down and it looked pristine when the client came to pick it up, so I was a little bummed about that, I will say. Other than that, though, it was a good experience. The guys were friendly and nice with me. I just thought that was kind of funny that the bars were sloped back and they hadn't really cleaned up the bike for me, but no big deal. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just these are the little fine points that I look for. But I've got the bike all cleaned up. I'm super happy. And going forward, I'm still doing all my skateboard videos, but there will also be a little bit of what they call big bike BMX. So I will also start sharing some of my experiences with my bike as I modify it, and just some of my cruises as I go out and enjoy this bike. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go out for a couple hours and just cruise around and get to know the bike and get to feel the geometry and just enjoy a beautiful July day out here on my brand new toy. That's what it's all about, right? The reason you would buy one of these is to get excited about going out and riding, and that's what I am. So that's enough talk. Let's jump on this. And then before I finish the video, I will give you my review of just kind of how I felt after actually riding it for a couple hours. So I dropped my seat so I could try and manual this monster, and it's going to take me a little while to get a feel for the geometry. And you know, when I drop the seat, it actually just feels like I'm riding a really big BMX, man. I really like this bike so far. All right, I'm gonna call it a day. I was out here for a couple hours just playing around, and I rode about 20 kilometers, so gave me a good feel of the bike. And as you can see towards the end of the session here, I was starting to get the feel for the wheelies. I was starting to sort of find the balance point for manuals. And yeah, even took it to the half pipe. Yeah, there's a little steel ramp that nobody ever skates in my neighborhood, so I took the bike over there and rode around a little bit. So I tried a little bit of everything on this thing, and I absolutely love it. I can't say enough good things, at least about the ride feel. As far as longevity of the bike, I don't know yet. I'll have to wait and see how long the rims last till they need a true and all that kind of stuff. But as I said, I'm going to replace a few different parts on the bike as I go. But I will start posting some more big BMX content as I learn how to ride a big BMX a little bit better and really figure out the geometry and the fine points of this thing. But yeah, that's it for now, and I absolutely love my Radio Legion 29er. If you have the chance to get one, I would do it for sure. All right, hopefully you enjoyed the video and coming along for a ride in my neighborhood today on my new bike, and I'll see you later.